Today I'm going to talk about learning about the self in a safe way. So, first of all, how do we know whether we're ready to speak about something with somebody? And, you know, some good ways to know that we're not ready is if we feel the person is not seeing us as innocent and we're so busy trying to prove and defend our point, which we now have identified with, that we are feeling unsafe. The point may not be considered as valid or, redemptive, like it may not clear our innocence and we may get too involved. Also, being emotionally available invites it. So if I'm not yet ready to hear what they might say or their emotions that are coming up, I'm not ready to speak about it. If I feel that I'm going to need to control the other person in any way, I have already an agenda where I am planning for something that may go wrong, but also it shows that I'm not yet ready to talk about it. Being faithful to what? If I don't know what it is that I'm coming in as a value, why am I upset about something? Why am I insecure about something? If I don't have a value to stand on, like respect, acceptance, love, I'm not ready. And passion for what? Like, is it truth? Is it love? Is it to come to the truth, to be the love, to respect the truth, to tell the truth? If I feel like someone lied to me or isn't allowing me to be different or isn't allowing me to be, to speak up, if it's like we can't come to an understanding, like, so whatever it is, it's like, what's the passion about? Why am I so upset? Where's the drive coming from? Is it because I want everyone to be happy? Is it because I want everyone to have a turn to talk? Is it because, I want equality? Like, it's not fair I'm doing more work or have more of the responsibility. And then a great practice for this is, basically this would be, am I serious about this or am I angry about this? And we've got to be able to be serious without being angry in order to have a proper, healthy discussion. So to go a little deeper, we have to think about what healthy intimacy is. And into me, I see. So it's always first me and then into others. But this allows for safe learning, safe self-education. So curiosity is welcome, not punished. So we grew up with curiosity killed the cat, and don't stick your nose in what doesn't concern you, and so on. So there's a lot of fear about new. Will I fit in? Will I stand out? Will I be able to act like I've done this 100 times even though it's my first time? So now we're starting to shift over to curiosity is welcomed. You don't have to be the expert when you're curious. The expert already knows the ins and outs. The curious one doesn't. And that's a great place to start. That's healthier than coming in acting as if, it's been done by you so many times and you're already able to predict what will happen. And then that leads to agendas, false narratives, and definitely being a little too passionate and faithful to our own ego instead of to the truth or the love that could come out of the work. Then peace and quiet is honored. This is a basic way healthy intimacy knows that as much talking is as much rest, as much interaction is maybe, and for some people it could be 2 to 5 times more, it could be 10 times more. Some people at different points can only handle one chunk, like a tenth of their energy to socialize, and then 9/10 to relaxation, hobbies, things that bring relief. Could even be hard work, could bring the person a release of the stress that's been pent up. So really just honoring however the other person gets their peace may not look like how you do, and however they need quiet, however they need to be not having loudness. We may live in a busy city, we may have others we live with, and a lot of people are very sensitive to sound, and so healthy intimacy requires peace and quiet, being honored, learning how to use earphones, learning how to be quieter. Silence and stillness enjoyed together is the next step of that, is enjoying peace and quiet together. Not always needing to talk, not always needing to watch a movie together, not always needing to entertain other people together, but actually, being able to stay still, stay quiet, the way you would if you were by yourself, and honoring that in yourself. And then even deeper is the stimulation and the safe, is safe and comforting. So there isn't like too much screaming. And if we pretend we honor peace and quiet and safety, in the stillness and the silence, but actually it's really, we have a lot of stuff to say and to get out. It's like we may explode. And so an important part of healthy intimacy is this foundational innocence, that we're doing our best and neither one is exiled, neither one is to be cut off for not being up to par at that moment. Every day is different depending on your mood, depending on, how much space and time you got that day. So we have to honor each other's space and time needs. It may be that I planned on coming with you to something and I can't. And in order to sustain the relationship, I need the right to say no. And it's a very short-term power struggle to say, I need you to come with me to what I want and when I want it, rather than seeing like, okay, we're building, a different kind of trust when you abandon me or I feel abandoned, and then everything's still okay, and then I recognize you just needed space and time. And so this stimulation of, maybe pressuring each other to have fun, to learn new things, and this could be in any relationship, but also we start with ourselves, has to be safe and comforting. Like, well, if you don't want to take the train by yourself, I'll come with you because I want to go together. Or if you are able to, can you, just lower your tone while you're talking to me? I feel overwhelmed. These the understanding that information coming in is sound and sight, and if someone's acting physically aggressive or their voice is raised or they keep cutting you off, it's not going to feel safe or comfortable. Observing with a soft and merciful gaze means I'm not squinting, penetrating, looking for something to like whack-a-mole with, like there's something wrong, there's a problem to fix. And there's sort of a softness to whatever I see is not too alarming. You could be who you are. If it's not something I'm familiar with, I might keep looking, I might stay curious. But I'm not going to be using my eyes to analyze you and judge you, because that could really damage the intimacy. You're seeing into me with your eyes, and I'm seeing into you with your eyes. And then there's got to be like a sense of fun and play. Healthy intimacy needs to have, we could let our hair down, we could let our guard down, we could like move around freely, feel the expression of life, sharing together. And this is based on the willingness to see with fresh eyes. Like, let's see how this person dances without saying it's right or wrong, or how they sing, or how they, make art, or how they cook. And accepting that each one's reality is valid and true, that it feels good for that person, even if it's something we would never want to do when we think about what feels good. I was thinking about a vegetable soda, like a V8 with bubbles in it, and to somebody else that could sound disgusting. So, excuse me. Accepting the differences means that each person's reality is valid for them, and the way that they enjoy their preferences is valid for them. And this starts with ourselves. I just have to accept I like having garbage, out of the house, but I have very large garbage bags. So it's like finding that balance. It's, it's not either or. So that even if somebody has values, but then some things they do are not exactly in line, it makes sense to them. They have reasons for it. And we each have that. So then there's this intentional, generous, nurturing touch, which is how we, our fight or flight energy comes out, like I said earlier, aggressive, over-talking, pushing is usually when we're in fight or flight. It's a survival mode. It comes from the adrenal glands. However, the rest and digest system is a more soft and calibrated nervous system, which neither one is better or worse. Your fight or flight actually gives you a very strong core, and it connects you to the core that I have tremendous strength, I could do whatever I need to do to defend myself, and I'm going to show my power. Versus some other forms of fight or flight, we may step down, silence, try to become friends. So we got to look at these, the other side of fight or flight, of frozen, is another way of coping. It's a survival mode. It helps us to get by. We may not always be the bigger, stronger one with more power, so we may actually need to shut up and not argue. And that could be with somebody in the street, and that could leave a lot of energy in the body, and then we come home and we take it out on somebody else who we may be bigger and stronger than, and it could be happening unconsciously. So in this way, intentional nurturing touch could be without actually physically touching. It could be soft voice. It could be going like on the heart with a hand, just using touch, even not to touch, in a very soft way, using the demeanor in a soft way, using the voice finding a tone of the heart, like finding a sigh and then speaking from that place. And this is generous. This is where I want to make sure you're okay. It's kind of like if we think of a parent, and we have to be able to soothe our nervous system enough, and then in intimacy we know our nervous system is intend, befriend, open, generous, when it could give and flow and take and enjoy with someone, rather than needing to be the one who's in charge, which is when we go into fight or flight, because we need to be in charge of any possible threat. And finally, we need to connect that this core, this one that has the power, is pristine and holy. So it's like uncontaminated and also always has all the answers for us. And so if it's telling us to shut down in order to survive, that's the right way. If it's telling us to open up in order to survive, that's the right way. But it also means that we have to look at what's coming in and what we are gravitating around. So this core could feel empty if we're filling up with very temporary things. They come and they go. Like if it's very simple information, if it's from a book, if it's not really experience of connecting deeply to the strength, then it might be like, it might be an idea that sort of comes and then fizzles. So we've got to connect to this like really deep core that's gotten us through everything that ever happened until now. And it also is like the idea that the name, we each have a name, and it's kind of like the core of who we are. The name tells us where we're coming from, like the conception, the essence, but also where we're going, the location, the destination. And in Hebrew, it's like the word shin mem is actually 340, but it also means shame is name, and actually it also sham is place. So it's like the energy of Shammai, who was a lineage where it's a surveyor. It assesses the value. It sees where it's coming from and where it's going. You might say money, or the stock market, or these things. When you can see how much you have, what it represents, is it actually like real materials, or is it like ownership of something, and how that changes based over time. So it's the appraiser. And it doesn't mean it's like I'm saying somebody has a name that says they're worthless because if we would put them in money, it's very low. It's more to say that your name will tell you whether you have to gain more in some area or lose more in some area. So if your destination, for example, is your name has information for you that tells you where you're going, but you feel so like far away from it, that means that you haven't upped the value in yourself of that resource. And in other words, if the name is something to do with grace or help or laughter or beauty, it might seem like, that's where you want to get to. That's your comfort zone. But actually, there's another angle on this where it says that's where you come from. So where you come from and what you're bringing into the world, into every situation, is your location. So your core itself is connected no matter where you go. It's like you have a string with a ball, and the string is always going to stay back to where your name came from. And as you go, it's also going to guide you. So it's really staying connected to that. And I mean, this value assessor appraiser energy is like the perfectionist, the devil's in the details, or it's also not the devil, it's also the Virgo, the virgin's in the details, right? The purity. In Hebrew we say Betula is the virgin. And I speak of Hebrew letters, and just to know, there's 3 general letters, and these shin and this mem come from the 3 general letters. To run through, there's 7 double letters, and it's it corresponds with the planets. And there's 12 month letters, so that's already 19. And some of the letters are doubles, but like I said, so those are, I'm only counting 7 of them, but there's really 14 total of 7 pairs of double letters. So there's 7 and 12, which is 19, and then there's 3 general letters, Aleph, Shin, and Mem. So the Shin and this Mem together make name or place. So the letters built into reality mean that you have the strength of these, or the value of these combinational forces, And you also will always be sort of gravitating to that, even if you're the one that has to bring it into the moment. That's how you'll balance the world. And safety, to go into safety now, just to talk about what does that mean? What's the feeling of safety? It's easier to say what it's not. So safety is there's no sense of I don't want you here. There's no sense of resistance, get out, go out, you're negative, it's debiting me, it makes me feel less than, I want something to be banished. And sometimes we're actually safe, but we don't feel safe. Like I said, there may be leftover information in the nervous system, and we may be carrying it. And so some really good ways to feel safe, and then see if you're actually safe. And once you practice these things, if you feel safe again, you recognize I'm safe. But if you continue to feel there's something here I don't want, get out, go out, I don't want you here, negative energy that has to be banished, then you know it's time to step into the power of the core. So these are the practices. One is my body and my heart and my children. And now you take care of your body and your heart like a child, whether it needs comforting, soothing, gentleness, nurture, a little distraction, a treat, a big smile in the mirror, or a good cry, or writing in a journal, someone to talk to, calling a friend. You may have some self-care ritual, anything that you do that you would imagine would really help a little kid. It's really a nervous system you're dealing with. It doesn't have to be complicated. Could be a hot shower, could be some stretches, some peaceful music. Another thing is to be around peaceful people. And then recognize, as you're around peaceful people, you'll recognize how they carry themselves under pressure, how they carry themselves when they're being attacked. You will, if you're around them long enough, see how they behave in those difficult moments, and you'll recognize they're carrying the peace. Their life is not just peaceful. They carry peace in them. They carry safety in them. They know how to de-escalate the situation. Another way is to see the colors, look through them. We get out of the left brain. I see blue, yellow, red, and you go into just color frequencies. You'll actually have a big shift in the nervous system messages of the mind. Really look in the colors and look through them. I'm looking at a red blanket, a yellow curtain, a brown wall. Really look through them. A lot is going to shift in the mind. And finally, forgiving myself for not knowing is really, I'm so sorry for what you're going through, Shayna. I love you, and thank you for all the strength you have to be willing. And I forgive you. I forgive you for not knowing you were going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or that people often are, not carrying peace, but they might seem like it, or, I forgive you, Shayna, for not knowing how to de-escalate the situation. And that's actually a way to cement in that this practice is safe. Even if moments feel unsafe, this practice is safe. And how to ground in. Is to, now once you say, okay, I am safe, there's, I'm with peaceful people, there's just a stressful situation, or I've really looked into the colors, made contact with the real world around me, I've connected with my body, with my heart, I've taken care of my needs, I've forgiven myself for any mistakes I made that may be making me have a mental lack of safety. And finally now, I say, okay, I'm safe. There's nothing in this environment that needs to go. It's just something that I need to ground myself into now. This safety, it's not just a light bulb, it's the light bulb. It's not just like a flashlight, it's a light bulb that's attached to a plug, and it's ground into the wall. It's not just gonna burn out. So this is a way to stay grounded in the safety. So we put our feet on the ground and we say, I'm safe. I'm safe. And in this, I'm safe, it also contains the message that some people are unhealthy. And, as I said, I'm going to step back and say forgiving myself also included saying, recognizing that I put myself in situations where people might not have been healthy, and apologizing to myself for not protecting myself properly, and remembering that if I'm serious about something, that this is valid because it might have been trained out of me. And then, of course, my anger is not appropriate to dump on anybody, but it gives me information. So letting this be learning. So now I sit in this and I say, I'm safe. I accept myself. I'm safe. I'm safe. And I'm going to share that, there's a little formula, which is that our experience, awareness is distributed amongst time, space, and another dimension. So time and space dimension, and then the awareness is also distributed into experience. Experience is beyond time or space. You could learn something in 2 minutes that could take someone else 20 years in 20 different countries. So it's some averaging out of those two, and then awareness of. So our goal here with the self-education, the learning, is to become more aware. And that's what life is. That's what we might call the truth that I was talking about before, to, what are we passionate about? And Teal Swan gives a really good breakdown of like how to start to connect with, what we do take seriously, rather than maybe what was trained out of us, that we're so not willing to learn about ourselves sometimes because it was trained that we shouldn't be listening to ourselves. So some suggestions she gives is acknowledge our abilities, our strengths, our talents, our virtues. And for example, I would say I have dedication, I have a witty, corny humor, and I'm very aware and conscious. Another tip she says is do what's naturally easy and I'm good at, that I'm passionate about. And this is a way I could learn about myself. And this is handiwork, body energy work, learning, teaching, because of memorizing things and understanding, quick learner. And she says, let go of the right answer, find my answer. And that could be validating my own teachings, ideas, and feelings. She says, take risks even if outcome is a mistake. And that is to challenge myself to be carefree, wobbly, and flowing more. She says, accept responsibility for my decisions and their outcomes. And I would say this has to do a lot for me with sleeping, speaking, and social. And I'm working on it. And she says, live life according to a sense of integrity. So I have to do yoga. I have to refrain from cigarettes and alcohol and things like that as much as I can. I try to be more plant-based, but it also, has to be balanced for whatever nutrition I need. And also reading more, and I've been reading a lot. She says, acknowledge the ways I do trust myself. For example, how loyal I am to myself, my perseverance, my empathy. I trust those aspects of myself. She says, listen to emotions that are sometimes ones we ignore. For me, tight gut, anxiety, heat, where I feel like exposed, and disappointment or grief or like pressure, Then stop abandoning myself is basically what to live by, she says. So in order to learn about ourselves, we cannot abandon ourselves. So I hope that this was helpful and you have a more curiosity and a deeper connection to the core of who you are, that you're willing to learn about yourself, whoever you are, and whatever comes up.